We're back. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to One Leeds. It's Connor here. We are back to discuss many things Leeds United, but I want to get your thoughts on this one. If you've not seen my review of yesterday's game and you want some cathartic explanation of everything that went on yesterday, please go check that out. You might enjoy it. A lot of people seem to enjoy it. So, yeah, on 16,000 views now, so really appreciate all your support. Make sure you're liking the videos as always, guys. Really helps the algorithm for the channel and we can get through this together. I've seen Craig Fairclough in the chat already saying couldn't sleep or whatever. Mate, I reckon I had 5 hours sleep last night. Just completely torn up by this club at the minute. And listen, it means so much to all of us, doesn't it? Leeds United, and we spoke about this yesterday, and we're going to get into it today, and we're going to get into obviously the chat at the top about Rafael Benitez. He was obviously on Sky Sports yesterday doing the Newcastle-Liverpool game, came out and essentially said he wants a project. He wants to be in the Premier League. I mean, could Rafa Benitez save Leeds United? It's at crisis point now, isn't it? It's beyond the crisis point. I think Leeds are done. You heard that from my video yesterday. I still even think if they beat Southampton, they're done. That's just my thoughts on it. Could be wrong. Hope I'm wrong, obviously. But yeah, the 15 games and the probable 5 more wins needed in the least case scenario, the worst case scenario, I should say. It's just not attainable for me. I mean, we've won 4 games all season. If we contextualize those games, Chelsea have been diabolical all season. Liverpool at the start of the season were very poor, even though it was a good win. It's not the same Liverpool. Wolves could have gone either way. And Bournemouth, we should have been 6-1 down at half-time. So, yeah, listen, when old Victor's given it the shush, I think you got to contextualise everything that's happened this season and just surmise it as an absolute SHIT show. So let's get in to a couple of your comments. No team is scared to play as the atmosphere at Ellen Road is so poisonous as it's ever been, and the vitriol will be directed primarily at our own, deservedly so. Blood in the water. Can you believe as well, Max, that it is going to be my 4th or 5th game of the season? Obviously, like I work match days, so I'm never able to get down to Ellen Road like I was able to do in the Championship and League One and etc. etc. So I'm going to be back down there for the Southampton game. So it's going to be my first time in a long time. So how buzzing am I going to be? My first game back when it's just going to be poisonous. Fantastic. We are toothless and can't defend bad mix. I really don't know who could keep this lot up. Disjointed. Thomas has said that I'd offer Benitez an 18-month contract. He has the experience to get back up if we go down. He did a good job at Newcastle. Thomas, it's a really, really good point. I think that's what's been keeping me up all night, mate. Just trying to think of contingency plans, trying to think of the worst case scenario. And I think in a strange sort of way, that's maybe why I didn't really take to Corberan initially, because I thought, look, in the Premier League, he's not got a lot of experience. And is he going to be able to come in and really implement his free-flowing football into this Leeds side, which has transitioned so far away from anything Bielsa and any passing retention? We've moved straight to a direct style of play, a complete opposite style of play, another good move by the board. Is Corberan going to be able to come in and really, embed his ideas in straight away into this side who have just been transitioned to a completely different style? Probably not. But the long-term approach is something I'm looking at now. And that isn't the long-term approach of Leeds being in the Premier League, by the way. My thoughts are, Iriola, all that sort of stuff, that's gone. That's I'm seeing still articles linked to it. Iriola's going to consider his future as if he come to Leeds in the Championship. And I'm literally looking at contingency plans now, the long-term for Leeds being in the Championship. So something like that, Rafa Benitez, obviously taking Newcastle back up, Leeds, massive club. The thing is, it's not, Benitez hasn't got the greatest style of football. We know that, obviously with Newcastle in the Championship, he was backed by a hell of a lot of money. The squad turnover wasn't massive for Newcastle, if we're being honest. They had still the likes of John Joe Shelby. I believe they had Andy Carroll as well in the Championship. He still had a very, very good team. Newcastle players were on high wages. The issue with Benitez, if he was to come into Leeds now, is there's a severe likelihood we go down. I think we all know that. And when we're in the Championship, these players aren't going to stick around. You're not going to see a Rutter. You're not going to see a McKennie. You're not going to see a Rocky. You're not going to see an Adams. You're not going to see a Verby. You're not going to see a Cock. You're not going to see a Melier. You're not going to see Nonso. All of these players are not going to be sticking around at Leeds United like Benitez had with Newcastle in the Championship. So that's where I'd worry a little bit. Once again, context needs to be applied. He was very not lucky, obviously, but he had a very decent side when he went down. And that Newcastle side obviously ran away with it, arguably the best team that's ever been in the Championship when it comes to calibre of squad that's come down from the Prem. So, yeah, so I'd be interested to see how that would work. But now, as I've mentioned several times on this video, it's contingency plans for the Championship for me. And that is where my head is at now. I'm at peace with it. I'm obviously going to be supporting Leeds United and hoping that we can, improve and get better and stay in the Premier League. But just with the fixtures left and the lack of wins, lack of belief, lack of structure, lack of planning, lack of organisation, lack of acumen, I just don't see it. I see it as impossible. I think we're the worst team in the division at the minute. And the form table would back that up. So, yeah. Rutter would stay, possibly Nonto, Verba, they're on long contracts. The thing is, Giles, they'll have relegation clauses in the contracts. Every single player does now. So Leeds will be able to sell them on. But the turnover, and this is why I mentioned Rafael Benitez, because he went down with a very, very decent squad. Yeah. Blinky Fish says, can't worry about the future. We need to fix that. I agree, Blinky. But I'm almost, as I've said earlier on, and the viewer said earlier on as well, it's contingency plans now for me. And just planning ahead for the first time in recent history would be quite nice. And obviously, listen, we've all been to bed, we've all woken up the next day. Maybe a lot of people feel a little bit easier about it. There's no ease about this, unfortunately. I'm sorry to bring this hard reality down to some people. There is no ease. There is no, placid way of putting this. Leeds are in dire straits right now. We really are. Benitez was sacked by Everton and replaced by Gerrard. He's a massive step back. Mark, we don't have an alternative, mate. The alternative right now, and this is absolutely no disrespect to him, is Skabala. If you do have an alternative, mate, just please let me know. I'd be really interested to hear. But the board haven't planned. The board have been negligent and naive, as I always say, the duplicate terms when I put it to the board. They've gone out and tried to cherry pick the managers because they've been arrogant. They've thought to themselves that we can just turn up as Leeds United, as a Premier League club, and cherry pick whoever we want. That's not happened. And that doesn't happen, especially when you're in, 17th place, when you've sacked your previous manager or whatever they were. Yeah, it is what it is. And you've also tried to hire managers outside of the transfer window, days after the transfer window, as they did with Jesse Marsch and Marcelo Bielsa. No planning whatsoever. Rad's been naive to water for 3 years. Gav, I think it's pretty clear, mate, that there's one person who's running the club at the minute, and it ain't Radrizzani. Andy says the squad is not built for the Championship. They'll get mauled. We need another rebuild. Andy, you're spot on, mate. And let me just take you through why you're right there. Because it would be like we've just been in a dream scenario. We've had Marcelo Bielsa. Hypothetically, well, it's not hypothetically, is it? It's real life, I think. We had Marcelo Bielsa for 3 years, but the players that we've had previous to Bielsa, and have maybe come in at the start of Bielsa or whatever, when you're looking at Bamford or whatever, they would still be around. Gelhardt had come back, Drame had come back, Greenwood would be involved, and that would be it. It would be like we've just been in a dream scenario for 3 years and we've just woken up. We'll be back to exactly where we were. And as you've quite rightly said, when you've had the West Hams who've gone down in the past, when you've had Newcastles that have gone down in the past, they've been able to retain a lot of the side because they're on big contracts, huge contracts, and there's almost a guarantee they're going up next year. With Leeds, it just would not happen that way. It really wouldn't. And I'm convinced of that. I really am. I don't trust, you look at Burnley. Burnley have gone down and they've got rid of a huge portion of their squad, brought Vincent Kompany in, and it's obviously a new ownership from last season. And they've done an exceptional job. They're playing beautiful football. But with the way this has been ran toward the back end of this season and the sham it has been, do you really trust the board, the owners, whatever, to get this right in the Championship? And this is all dependent on if the 49ers come in and there's actually a structure, there's actually a plan, there's actually professionalism, those three little components. I'd have more faith that we'll be able to go out, get a proper coach. The owners would shut up and they would get things done in the background. There wouldn't be the investment. We know that. We've heard that already with the 49ers. If Leeds were to come down and the 49ers were to get involved, there wouldn't be that investment arch. So we're not going to get a lot of money. The 49ers would take us over, probably as a little bit of a project, a little bit of a hobby horse. But they wouldn't have the investment. Obviously, we would if we were still in the Premier League. And hopefully we'll be able to get things done in a shrewd way, and we'd actually be run as a proper football club for once. But I mean, I don't even know if the 49ers are going to stick around. Maybe they've got a clause in their agreement with Leeds United at the minute and Victor Radrazani that there is an ability or a notion that they can just pull out. Who knows? We don't know the finer details. But yeah, it's a massive risk for them as well. And there's a lot of people at the minute who are saying, where are the 49ers? What are they doing? It's almost like as a club, we're now indoctrinated into believing that owners come out and start chatting to fans, and they talk to fans in stands, and they give, rubbish back to fans in crowds, and they make promises that they can't keep. Guys, proper owners of proper franchises and clubs, sporting clubs, do not come out and do these things. The best run clubs in the country, even the worst run clubs in the country, when you look at Man United, the Glazers, and how much they're in debt and all this sort of stuff, and Everton and all this sort of stuff, they don't come out and chat to fans and tweet fans and make promises that they can't keep. This is a Leeds United problem. So the 49ers are not doing anything wrong. They're sat back in their probably offices looking at Leeds and thinking, Jesus Christ, this is how they run operations down at Ellen Road. Wow. We're going to have to implement big changes if they stay up and we take over. How can we make the board listen? That's a great question, mate. It's a great question. I think it's actually got to a point. Cheers for this as well, Daniel. Really appreciate that. I think it's got to a point where I watched a clip this morning, and it was of Victor Orta at Brentford last year. And he was responding to fans, and fans were singing, he was in the car park as well, taking pictures with fans. And you guys might say it's his right to be able to do this, which is fair enough. That's your opinion. But he was responding to fans in the car park saying, if it wasn't for me, you'd still be in the Championship. If it wasn't for me, 17 years, you'd still be down there. This is what he's saying to fans, away fans who followed Leeds United through thick and thin, hell and high water, spending thousands of pounds on Leeds United, paying his wages, paying him and his mates' wages at the top of the club. And he's turning round and saying to Leeds fan, you this, you that. Do you remember at the back end of last season when he's grabbing hold of Jesse Marsh and pointing at him? Yeah, that's me. That's Victor Orta. That I employed him. You're staying up because of me. It's an ego thing with him. So he doesn't listen. He feels like, he's a complete narcissist. He doesn't, I could be wrong there, but he doesn't, maybe he listens to fans and he just doesn't take any notice because he doesn't learn. Every single time you see Victor Orta, he's doing the same things. He's obviously a passion merchant. However, when it's going good, everyone loves it. But even when everyone loves it, it's not professional what he's doing. It's never been professional. I know we all loved it, but you even look at the binoculars at Derby. We all loved it, but it's not professional, is it? And you look at the antics with him over the last 15 to 16 months, it's staggering. We know Kinnear's not a football guy. He's coming for facilities and building up the ground and taking us somewhere else and improving facilities and all this sort of stuff. And does Rads know that much about football? Probably not. So the entire arm, the entire control when it comes to all the big decisions, recruitment being the large pillar of that, is down to Victor Orta. And he's extremely sensitive and doesn't like it when he gets criticised. So I don't think there's anything as fans that we can do to make him realize that what he's doing and what he's done is not acceptable. I really don't. So yeah, interested to hear what your thoughts are on the ownership. Everyone, that's what this is. I mean, there's nearly 600 of you in the building this morning. Make sure you're just smashing the like. I'm here to hear your thoughts this morning. Any donations, everybody, you'll obviously get thrown to the top of the chats and stuff like that. If you want to donate afterwards as well to just help the channel, you can press the thanks button down below. Your comment will get pinned in the comments after the video. Rafa is an absolute no-brainer. He's Champions League winner and is still highly thought of at both Liverpool and Newcastle. It didn't work for him at Everton for obvious reasons. Get him in, yeah. And obviously he's worked at Madrid. He's worked at Chelsea. But I don't think Rafa would come. You know, he wants to stay in the Premier League. He wants a project. Are Leeds going to stay in the Premier League? Is he really going to take over a team? That is where we are. I mean, I don't think he's ever taken control of a team that is in the position that Leeds are in. You know? James, cheers for the donation, buddy. We are overall the worst club in the league right now. Yeah, 100%, mate. 100%. I mean, at least when you look at Everton, Everton's owners have been, allegedly have come out and essentially said that Denise Barron Baxendale, one of the owners, was assaulted by a fan. A lot of Everton fans have said that this was a lie and they made it up to, almost demonize the fan base, and that they won't go to games anymore. They won't go to Goodison. We express how upset we are at the board for being negligent for their entire period, their entire stewardship at the top of this club, apart from the Bielsa years when he papered over the cracks. And they still turn up at home games. And if they win, they give it back to the fans. It's unbelievable how this club is run. It's unbelievable the front on these people. And fair play to them that they're not scared at home games to sit there with the chest out. And I fully expect it at Southampton. If we get the win, I fully expect Victor Orta to start shushing the fans and doing that to the fans. It's the most unprofessional outfit in the Premier League. And I fully expect, even if we lost, Victor Orta would be giving it back, as he was to the fans outside Brentford last season when he said, if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be here. Like, it's staggering. I mean, the worst run club in the Premier League is probably Everton when it comes to spending all this sort of stuff. But at least the board don't chirp back to fans. At least they don't tweet back to fans. At least they stay away from the stadium at points because they know it's going to be, vitriolic. It's going to be horrific for them. Ours don't. They don't. We don't matter to them. We don't. Badgegate proved that when they lied and said that they'd interviewed 10,000 fans who'd agreed on the badge. It just lies, So I'm not 100% sure. I'd like, Rafa for me would be a good appointment right now. I'd be interested to see him long term as well. I think, as I've said multiple times, the contextualization of this is maybe that Rafa Benitez went down with Newcastle to the Championship with a much better side than what Leeds United will have, and what's going to go on board level, nobody knows. At least when Newcastle that went down, they had that, and they had Mike Ashley in charge, and they knew that, he wasn't going to spend a lot of money, of course not, but they were going to be able to retain the similar squads because of the contract lengths and the contract status that a lot of their big players were on. They weren't going to move at that period of time. Dwight Gale, John Joe Shelby, etc., which enabled Newcastle to have the pick of the bunch really in the Championship when it came to the top players. Leeds aren't going to have that, and you forget, everybody. If we do go down, this is where it's awful for Leeds, and this is why we were down for so long. It was mismanagement, of course it was, but another fundamental thing is everybody hates us down there. You think about the teams that are potentially going to be in the Championship next season. If Warnock keeps them up, Huddersfield, Millwall, if they stay down, potentially Sheffield United, who knows, Borough, Sheffield Wednesday, if they get promoted. Every single team in that division hates Leeds United with a burning desire and passion. Anytime Leeds, Sunderland, another one if they don't go up. If Leeds don't go up, if Leeds go down, we are everybody's biggest game. Everybody sells out against Leeds United because they all want to start singing, "We all Leeds, scum, your Leeds are falling apart again." They all want to start doing that if they beat us. So I've said this before on the channel, Burnley, Watford, Norwich, because they're much smaller clubs than Leeds United and they're not hated around the world, they will go down and they will come back up, and it won't be easy, but it'll be easier for them. Leeds United, when we go down, we are everybody's cup final. Hence why they call it Sky Sports Leeds. We're in the Championship. So that's going to be the big problem. It's not just the turnover of players. It's playing at a different level, and they're going to have to get used to, if we were able to keep some players from the top level and go down, which I don't think we'll really be able to do, that it's them getting used to the fact that all these little clubs in and around the Championship hate Leeds that much that they raise their games. And that's always been the difficult thing for Leeds in the Championship. So that's another thing we have to take into contention. Every team hates Leeds. We know that we're probably the most hated team in the country. But in the Championship, they all absolutely despise all these tin pot clubs. So, yeah, we know it's going to be more difficult for us than what it would be with another club. Mark Bradley says, stop all channels and come back in a month to debate where we are then. Have to stick with the team down to the players. Well, absolutely not. That sounds like a complete dictatorship, Mark. I don't think the voice of fan channels, there's nearly 600 people who are in the building right now who maybe want to hear what I have to say and maybe want to hear what other fan channels have to say. Just because you don't like it and just because maybe it's a different opinion to yours, A, doesn't mean that I'm not going to back the team, which I am for the last 15 games, as I always do. But B, doesn't mean that just because, you don't agree with an opinion, this is all going to stop and every channel should stop. That's just a warped mentality. We're all going to keep talking about it, and we're all going to keep talking it for the subscribers and people enjoy. This is cathartic for a lot of people. Probably makes you guys feel better. Definitely makes me feel better. It's just very, very odd. And I think all the fan channels do contribute and people enjoy what they do. So, yeah. If we go down, who is going to stay? We have too many players that are vulnerable to other Premier League clubs. And that's the thing, Franco. I think you've got a lot. If you go through the Leeds United team at the minute, there is a lot of players there. I mean, let's go through it, shall we? Let's go through the Leeds United starting 11. Starting 11, Leeds United. And we'll see what, who comes up here. Okay, I'll share my screen, and you guys, we can have a little bit of a chat here on what you expect, who you expect to stick around. So this is the first team at Leeds. Okay, so I think this is showing. Yeah. Okay, so let's have a look. So Ilan Meslier for me does not stay. And at the minute, I think, he's struggling a little bit. And that obviously we don't know it doesn't really, it's inconsequential what happens with these two. I think Robles would move on anywhere. Ayling would stay for me. Firpo would go. Koch would go. Cooper, of course, Coops would stick around. Him and his mate Mooney, they'd stick around. Llorente would go. Dallas would stick around. I think Strout would stick around. He's been hampered by injury and bad form this season, so I don't think many clubs would come in for him. Rasmus has probably got a relegation clause, and I don't really want to see him sticking around anyway. Verber wouldn't be sticking around. Four should stick around, of course he would. Aronson, there'd be a clause in his contract. Rocker, there'll be a clause. Somerville, I think we'd manage to keep him. Harrison would be gone. Adams would be gone. JB would stick around. Sinny would be gone. McKennie would be gone. Greenwood would stick around. Gray would obviously stick around. Bamford would stick around. I mean, he's going to be coming and picking up Bamford. Perkins would stick around. Rodrigo would be gone. He'd probably go back to Spain. Rutter, he'd have a relegation clause. And Nonto's obviously not going to stick around. So, in my opinion, you've got 1, 2, 3. This is just my opinion. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So, for me, there's probably 15 players there. That's the sort of turnover. And if you look bare minimum there, you're probably looking at 10 or 11. That turnover is massive, and you're going to be bringing players in. So yeah, as people are saying, Burnley have done something very, very similar, but their new ownership has come in and shown, by hiring Vincent Kompany, by having a plan to really, really back Kompany to the hill and invest in that squad, and do it intelligently and really work closely with Vincent Kompany. They've shown a really different arm of the project at Burnley, a different, Burnley have been a certain way for so many years, and now they've completely transitioned. Do you expect Leeds to do that? Are the 49ers even going to get involved? Who knows now? And if we actually stick with this ownership, I don't think we will. But if this ownership sticks around, then there's not going to be anything done professionally, because the only thing that they've got right in 6 or 7 years has been Marcelo Bielsa. Yeah, Scott, as you've said, mate, on paper I agree, but can't see 15 going. Probably end up being around 10. Probably right, but still the turnover of 10 players leaving is going to be massive. And you look at a lot of those players in there, how many are going to stick around? You know, if you're saying 10, what other 5 to my 15 are really going to be sticking around? Sinisterra, Nonto, Rock, there's just no chance. But yeah, Vic says if they went, we'd have plenty of money to spend. We would. Do you trust what's going on? And we'd have parachute payments for 3 years as well. So listen, it's not going to be as bad. It's not going to be as bad as what it was when we went down with Ridsdale. It's not going to be as bad as that. The club's not going to be in financial oblivion. You know, we've been in the green for so long. It's not going to work that way. We won't make the money back. We won't. We're going to have to sell the players at a loss. Of course we are. And if we retain some of the players, they'll be decent in the championship. But the club's going to record massive losses as well, because we're not going to be getting the TV revenue, the broadcast money anymore. And you're going to have players on high contracts. Let's say Rodrigo sticks around. That could be a problem for the club in being one of the highest earners. All these things are things that you have to mitigate and contextualize when it comes to Leeds being in a lower division. You look at the problems that Stoke went through when they had, all those players on big money contracts. I don't think Leeds are at that level when Stoke went down, but it's going to be a problem if Leeds don't bounce back straight away. You need to get rid of all those high contracts when you're in a league which doesn't pay as much. The sponsorship's not there as well. The eyeballs aren't on the championship. You look how many of us have forgotten about the championship since we've been out of it. I'd say 99% of us. So it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem. Then you've got to really trust recruitment to be able to get it right. Plenty of money to spend. We've seen with this board and this ownership that, when it's come to certain individuals that, when you look at Dan James and Brendan Aronson and players of that ilk, and you literally, you're bringing that total together to about, 55, 60 million on just those two. Would you really trust this board to go out and get it right? And that's it. Says Zero Fox. There's so many bad decisions. It almost seems deliberate. There's been a rumor that Nuno has been offered the job this morning. If you've got an example of that, has anybody else heard that? Richard said the 49ers are already staying. Agreed. No matter. Yeah, I just like to see, you'd almost like to see what's going on with the contracts, wouldn't you? It's all rumors now. It's been very, very quiet on their front, which I think speaks volumes. So let's see what happens. Let's see. That's all I'll say on that one. Vic says Orta needs his position seriously reviewed. Well, yeah, I mean, when you failed as many times as he has, you'd expect that, and you'd have that in any other business. The boy in the bandana says, you say Sinisterra, Adams, etc. all going, but in reality, they haven't helped us. I disagree there, mate. I think they're probably two of our better players. Yeah, James says everyone smashed the likes. Only 600 people in the 600 people in the building, only 70 likes. I'd really appreciate that, everyone. Super chat. I didn't see that. Leeds Ultras. Let me just have a quick look. Sorry, mate. The comments are absolutely flying in. Hi, mate. If we went down, how many? Oh God, how long's a piece of string? It wouldn't be straight away. As I say, I don't think it would be as cataclysmic as it was under Ridsdale. It wouldn't, because we were literally financial oblivion when it came to Ridsdale. But we'd be in trouble. And it's everything as well. It's the crowd's been affected. As I keep saying, everybody's biggest game in the championship when Leeds going down, the ownership, the manager, the player turnover. There's no way we'd come straight back. There's no way. Unfortunately, and if you're looking at Burnley, and if you're looking at Norwich, and you're looking at Watford, and obviously it's not going to happen with Watford, but you're looking at those clubs and comparing them to Leeds United, you can't, because it's a completely different scenario. Leeds going down in comparison to that lot. We're too big to be a yo-yo club, fortunately and unfortunately, if that makes sense. Everton fan here. When you go down, I'll take Sinisterra. Hey, mate, you're still in it. Trust me, you're still in that battle. Everton, I thought, were very, very poor yesterday. Very, very poor. That's not me being bitter. Oh, you deserve to win the game. But when you're getting Bournemouth and Southampton picking up wins, you're still right in it, fella. So don't be getting cocky. Hi, Connor. If Nuno takes the job and he doesn't keep Leeds up, would he stay on when we're in the championship? I don't know, mate. I really have no idea. I don't know Nuno as a person. I think his stock is a little bit too high to go back to the Championship. He was obviously trying to build his stock when he was at Wolves, then got into the Premier League, 2 consecutive 7th-place finishes, then left when they were, 13th, 14th. I think his stock's too high at the minute to go down. So I know he's been in Saudi Arabia, I get it, but he could just get another gig like that again, get paid a ridiculous amount of money, ride off into the sunset. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know his character. Yeah, Everton will come down with us. You still see teams like Southampton and Bournemouth, getting wins at Wolves who have turned it around a little bit, and Chelsea. I don't know. At the start of the stream, I said Chelsea are a bit abysmal, hence our win against them. However, at Stamford Bridge, they're probably a little bit of a different prospect when it comes to difficulty level. For Southampton to go there, keep a clean sheet, and Everton aren't out of it at all. I think we're done, but yeah. John says, love Leeds, whatever division we're in. Yeah, I mean, that's the problem, isn't it? That's the problem. 49ers on the shares they have. The only way they'll get out is to sell their shares. Yeah, exactly. The potential they see in Leeds, a one City club loyal fan base. Well, let's hope so. Overclocking. Let's hope so. As I say, we don't know a lot about the agreement that's in place at the minute. Obviously, we know there's been shares and stuff like that, but their actual investment arm, apparently, if we go down to the Championship, allegedly is going to be nowhere near as strong, and it's going to be difficult to convince that the investment that is within the 49ers to be, to really get involved with Leeds United. And everyone just leave the Bielsa stuff. Bielsa isn't coming back. Bielsa isn't coming back. He's not answering Radrizzani's calls to name the. Do you remember he wanted to name the training ground after him after Bielsa left? Radrizzani hasn't renamed the training ground because Bielsa won't come and accept it. This is a guy whose morals and ethics are through the roof. The reason he won't accept it is because they treated him like absolute you-know-what, because that is what this board do. No planning, no preparation, no care is what it is. We're used to it now. So yeah, Bielsa was kicked to the curb. And that was it. And that's, once again, as I always have to say to people in the chat, because they seemingly bring me up on it all the time, I wanted Bielsa to go. I did. And I still think Bielsa would have taken us down. But I expected Leeds to develop on what Bielsa had set. It's the foundation that he'd set. I wanted us to build on it with someone like Bielsa, Gallardo, Carlos Corberán, who can elevate his ideas and do it in a respectful way. They didn't do that, and that's the ownership arm at Leeds United. There's no surprise for me there whatsoever. And yeah, Bielsa would never come back because he doesn't even pick up the phone to the owners. They've not been able to rename the training ground after him because he won't pick up the phone, and fair play to him. Is what it is, isn't it? Fred says, I am now at peace. I've accepted that we are going down. Rebuilding the sum with the cut price, 49ers take over with money to spend. Hopefully, mate, that's probably the best case scenario when it comes to ownership, isn't it? Hi, Connor. Don't think we have enough scrappers in the team for a relegation battle. Certain players were pulling out of challenges yesterday. Name them, mate. Harrison, Aronson, just name them. Don't worry about it, or I'll name them for you. Yeah, didn't have the minerals. They've not had the minerals all season for it, mate. And that's what I mean. We carry on talking about the ownership, and listen, it all starts from the ownership. The ownership bring these players in. The ownership are the top, the hierarchy, the final port of call. Overall, the players are bottlers as well. There was more than enough on that pitch to be able to secure a victory yesterday. However, as I mentioned the other day, I think I'm coming around to the actual facts, the actual thought process, I should say, that we all just overrate these players. And, I've had that chat with multiple people yesterday. We think these players are better than they are. They're not that great. They're really mediocre, below mediocre. Hence why we are where we are in the table. And yeah, I still saw people saying yesterday, I mean, a lot of them are these US men's national team accounts, and as Leeds content creators, we all talk to each other, and we're very well aware that these US men's national team accounts with Pulisic as the profile picture and Giovanni Reina as the profile picture and Jesse Marsh as the picture just exclusively follow American players, which is fine, I guess. but they will, come on and any time Leeds lose a game now, they will hound the comment sections of any of our videos and say, there you go, you sacked Jesse Marsch, look where you are now. As if Jesse Marsch hadn't got 11 points out of 53 and won, 4 games all season. And was complaining about the players towards the back end of the season, not understanding his ideas still. Jesse Marsch deserved to be sacked. The problem is with Marsch, he should have been sacked way beforehand. We had a period in the World Cup. This is where the ownership are naive and ridiculous, and it's all about ego because Victor Orta wanted to be proven right, getting Bielsa's successor right, so he gave him extra leverage, hence the signings, hence the time. There was an argument, and I mentioned it on this channel. For some reason, people are saying, no, I didn't. You can go back and see it on the debrief at the start of the season. I was saying, I'd be a fan of him not getting the start of the season and us going for another manager. This isn't, and I told you so. It's just what I thought at the start of the season. But there's been ample points to sack this guy. After the Leicester game, he should have gone. Argument that the West Ham game at home, he should have gone because it was a must win and West Ham had lost 5 on the bounce. There's so many points where they should have got rid of him, and that is the issue that we're in now. It's the fact that we kept him in for too long. We backed into the hill. We had a style of play that the players clearly didn't understand, and that's why we're in the position we're in. This is in spite of Jesse Marsch. Some people saying that the issue is that we didn't have a manager to come in after Marsch. That's the issue. That's the issue, that we didn't have a ready-made appointment to slot in. That's the unprofessionalism of Leeds United. It's not the fact that we've sacked Jesse Marsch. He should have been gone a long time ago. Squeaking Bubbles Carpet Cleaners says, we don't want Leeds to go down. However, on the performance and inconsistency of Leeds United, it looks like we are. Mike gives us a chance to get a good manager and build again like Bielsa did. Let's hope so, mate. Hope so. Marsch is a lovely guy, but he wasn't right for us. Took far too long to sack. New managers want to bring in players and they didn't get the chance. Missed the window. Ashton says, sacking Marsch without a 100% replacement isn't acceptable after bringing his players he's had a plan with. Dave says Jesse Marsch is laughing at us now. He shouldn't be, mate, because he's going to struggle to get a job. Trust me. After what he's done at Leeds United, he's going to struggle to get a job because that's going to be on his CV forever. Can't cope with this off to support Barnsley for my sanity. Hey, Johnny, another team that see Leeds as a cup final. That'll be fun next year as well. Lucy, Hannah, hi, Hannah. It's the financial issues going down is going to cause, which massively scares me. It'll just be devastating for the club. We just won't come back for the club. We won't just come back. It'll be another 16 years. Yeah, you just feel with the mismanagement, the ownership, the player turnover, the fact that every club down there sees Leeds as a cup final. We're hated down there. So, the performances are elevated. They have sellouts wherever Leeds go. It's never easy for Leeds to play away and play at home, really. So yeah, and it's the turnover of games is huge, isn't it? Because including cup competitions, you're playing over 50 games in the Championship. So it's Saturday, Tuesday, Sunday, Wednesday. It's all we've experienced this for long enough, haven't we? Luke says Rafa will do and reassess in the summer. It's just going to be very expensive for him, mate, I think, to do that. Hi, Connor, and that's not me saying that's the wrong thing to do, by the way. I just know the ownership. We know the ownership, don't we? Hi, Connor. If Leeds stay up and the 49ers fully take over, who would you choose as our director of football? Also is responsible for us being in this situation, needs to resign, and now. I don't know, Mike. I couldn't reel off any directors of football, to be honest with you, mate. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, have you got a name? Yeah, I don't really know any recruitment directors, to be quite honest with you. They're all quite inconspicuous, aren't they? There's a reason that our guy is probably well known by everyone in the media because he puts himself out there all the time to be known by the media. That's the difference. You don't know any other director of football. Is it Ashdown at Newcastle? That's probably one of them, because of his high profile nature and how well he's done. Victor Orta is known for all the wrong reasons in the media. Trust me on that. Connor for director of football, I don't think so. Chris Kelly in the building. Hey, Chris. Mate, I'm at the point of taking anyone now because this horror show has to stop. However, I think it's too late. I do, mate. Yeah. Me and Chris were chatting about it yesterday. It's just feels like it's damage limitations right now. But listen, if they get Rafa in, I'll back him, and I just think it's going to be a tough job for him. Why would he take Leeds United over now? He mentioned yesterday that he's waiting for a project. You know, Sean Dyche rejected 2 Premier League jobs before taking over Everton. Maybe he saw a little bit of potential in Everton. I don't know. You know, Frank Lampard took them over at a very similar point, didn't he? And Dyche probably thought he can get a tune out of these players, and he is doing it at the minute. Would someone take control of Leeds now with everything that's going on at the minute and the mess that we're in? And the fact that they know they're about 6th or 7th choice on Leeds United's list as well, is there really going to be a long-term projection for them there? Are they going to get a long contract at Leeds? Probably not. All these factors we need to take into consideration. Rich, morning, Connor, mate. Have you calmed down since last night's vid? No. I'm probably even worse because I've had no sleep. How did you sleep? I'm in New Zealand. I've had a terrible day. Yeah, I haven't, mate. Pretty much. You know, when Leeds are like this, it's not good. It's not good. Not good for my health. Michael, £2. Thanks, mate. Really appreciate that. Simon Jordan. Yeah, Simon Jordan. He was a chairman, though, wasn't he? He wasn't a recruitment director. Plenty of tickets available next season to watch the East and West Stand with huge empty seats. Yeah, there will be, mate. There will be. Mason says, Connor, what are your thoughts on McKennie? To me, I never understand recruiting a midfielder who can't pass unless he has any other outstanding attributes. Mason, I sort of said it at the start, and me and a couple of people said it, and we put our head above the parapet, and you had the natural trolls and all this sort of stuff coming for me on social media. It happens all the time with these wet wipes who never leave the bedrooms. And you know, I essentially said that in a double pivot, I didn't think it was going to work long term. And they had a good game against Man United, and they all started coming for me on Twitter because I dared to question it. But the double pivot will never work with just McKennie and Adams. You need a midfield 3 because McKennie can pass the ball but doesn't do it very well. He's a box to box. You know, that's what he is. He's a box to box. And, you know, I was calling for Onahi to be part of a midfield 3. I thought it'd be a little bit of a younger version of Matthias Klick. You know, I thought that'd have been a better move, to be quite honest with you, but it is what it is. There's no point in talking on hindsight. You know, it is what it is. But yeah, McKennie for me and Adams need a third person in there to be able to help them distribute the ball, because I don't think Adams or McKennie are good on the ball, and that's the problem, that you haven't got a balanced midfield there at all. And like people have quite rightly said, maybe a midfield 3 yesterday, throwing JB in there would have helped. But yeah, it's not been a good one, has it, so far? And listen, he had 2 good games against Man United, of course. But yeah, I think maybe having Mark Rocker next to him would be beneficial for him. Who knows? But never forget everybody saying that Mark Rocker was absolute dog, absolute rubbish, and the balance that we've missed in the midfield since has been huge, and we just need to see him in a midfield 3, I think. Pablo is better than any of our current midfield. Can't disagree. But yeah, guys, we're going to leave it there. We're going to leave it there after Andre's comments. Can you imagine a hopeful scenario where we stay in the Premier League? I can't, mate. I can't. I really can't. And I'd love to give you a bit of positivity, but we just can't pick up wins anymore. And if you don't win in the Premier League, we've been lucky to stay out of the bottom 3. Let's be right. When Marsh was in charge, we should have been in the bottom 3 numerous times. I mean, we just weren't winning football games. Everyone around us was just dropping points at that moment in time. But everybody's picked up. Everybody's got bottle now. If we somehow, you know, if we beat Southampton, go to Chelsea and get a point, and then we just suddenly start, you know, picking up points and wins, then yeah, fair enough. But I just can't see it. And if you can see it, fair enough, mate. No new manager bounce I've just seen in there. Are they going to get a new manager? Who's the new manager going to be? Is the manager going to be on top for, you know, is going to, you know, are they going to take being Leeds' 5th, 6th choice? Are they going to be happy with that? Are they going to be happy with the contract offered? All these things which we've seen problems with in the last 11 days could come to bite Leeds on the bottom again. Hopefully not. Tyler says score versus Saints. I'd probably go with a hopeful 1-1. A hopeful 1-1. I can't see us. And if we beat them, fantastic. We beat them, fantastic, and I hope we do. But I could see them scoring first and us maybe getting one in the last 5 minutes or whatever, and us getting a point, maybe positive scenario. But yeah, I just, you know, watched a bit of the Southampton highlights, the extended highlights yesterday against Chelsea. They look very good, very organised. Obviously, Ward-Prowse is a constant threat. Is it Macau up front, who we were linked with? He looks like a decent player off the bench. But who knows? Who knows? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Hopefully we do get the win, but I just don't think that's enough. I think we needed to get something yesterday. All right, everybody, I'm going to leave it there. Keep getting your comments in the section below. There's a thanks button below, which you can hit the 3 dots. And thanks if you want to donate to the channel. Really appreciate anything. It just goes into running it and just making sure I can do this on a more consistent basis. If you can't donate, absolutely no problem. Yeah, just give us a like on the video. Keep commenting in the section below, and we'll be out with the debrief very, very soon. So, guys, have a good one. I'll see you in a bit. Cheers.